WeldCorp, the new breed in welding. During the following presentation, we'll cover the topics which will assist you in getting started with your new welder. We'll cover the WeldCorp welding range, safety, weldable materials, machine setup, consumables, correct welding technique, the difference between a good weld and a bad weld, troubleshooting, and getting help when you need it. Let's have a look at the WeldCorp range. WeldCorp have two arc welders, the ARC 140, which is a 140 amp arc welder, and the ARC 170, which is a dual voltage 170 amp arc welder. The MIG range includes three models, starting with a 100 amp no gas and two dual purpose models covering 120 and 160 amps. Our three new technology electronic inverter arc welders cover 80 amps through 120 amps and 140 amps, completing 8 models in the range. Our welders are quality products that are produced in Italy and carry a 1-year warranty. When using welding equipment, basic safety precautions should always be followed to reduce the risk of fire, electric shock and personal injury. If used correctly, welders pose little risk to the operator. However, care should always be taken to ensure safety and proper performance. Read your owner's operating instructions before attempting to operate any welder. Keep the work area clean. Cluttered work areas, indoor or outdoor, invite injuries. Consider the work area environment. Don't expose power equipment to rain. Don't use welders in damp or wet locations. Keep the work area well lit. Don't use welding equipment in the presence of flammable liquids or gases. Welding produces fumes that can be harmful, so always work in a well-ventilated area. Guard against electric shock. Avoid body contact with grounded surfaces, such as electrical appliances or water pipes, and always check for damaged power cables before connecting to power. Wear safety eyewear and clothing. Welding produces arc radiation that can cause serious injury to the eyes and burn skin. Always wear appropriate safety eyewear like this approved welding mask. Wear clothing that will protect your skin from radiant heat, and proper welding gloves are a must. Keep children and visitors away from the area of operation. Don't let children or visitors touch equipment or power cables. Ensure that surrounding people are not exposed to the welding flash. Now that we've covered some important safety aspects, let's have a look at job setup. This is an important process for all welding tasks. Always make sure that the surfaces or metal to be welded are free from dirt, rust or paint. A dirty surface will make it difficult to achieve a good weld. So clean it up with a wire brush or grinder. This will provide a good surface for welding. A good contact is also required for the earth or grounding clamp. Wire brush or grind off a small area big enough for the clamp to make good contact. The job should be clamped securely in a vise or with handheld clamps to make the job stable whilst welding. To set up the arc welder for welding is quite simple. A traditional transformer type arc welder that uses an electrode or welding rod will only weld metal that has a minimum thickness of 1.5 to 2 millimeters. Any thinner than this and metal will just burn away, creating blowholes in the job. Always match the electrodes to the material that is to be welded. These general purpose mild steel rods are a perfect match for the mild steel section we're about to weld. If in doubt, always read the electrode specifications that are on the packaging. Now, set up the welder. WeldCorp makes it easy with a chart like this, which you can find in your owner's manual. For example, if you're using a 2.5mm electrode to weld steel with a thickness of 2 to 4 millimeters, check the guide and it'll tell you that you need to set the machine at 60 to 100 amps. Now the machine's set up, we can connect the earth clamp to the job like this. Place an electrode in the electrode holder like this. All we need to do now is switch on the power and we're ready to weld. With the job prepared and clamped into position, we can start the weld. We begin by striking the arc, which means we make light contact with the job by striking it with the electrode like this. Once the arc is established, withdraw the electrode about 1 mm from the job and holding the electrode at about a 30 to 40 degree angle from the job. You run it like this, running your weld left to right. This is a basic skill that'll take some practice to master. The weld is made by feeding the electrode along the joint into the molten metal puddle, maintaining a constant distance between the electrode and the job. If the electrode is too close, it looks like this. If it's too far, it looks like this. And this is the result. This is too close. This is too far. And this is just right. It'll take some practice to master the skill, but practice is the key. If you've purchased a WeldCorp electric inverter arc welder, the basic principles of welder setup for all arc welders is the same. Remember the important points about job preparation and the importance of clean surfaces and contact points. The inverter technology provides a wonderful new experience in welding as they actually make it easier to achieve a good result. They're lighter, more portable, more efficient, and a whole lot smarter. Generally, when we begin welding, we experience difficulty because both the electrode and the workpiece is cold. During this time, the inverter automatically increases the power for a split second for a much easier start. The inverter also controls amps during the welding process. It'll increase and decrease the power to help maintain a consistent weld. This is called arc force. The WeldCorp MIG welders start with the MIG 100. This welder is a no-gas wire feed welder that uses a flux core wire. This means that it's basically a wire feed arc welder with the wire having the flux on the inside which produces the welding atmosphere whilst welding, similar to an arc welding electrode that has the flux on the outside. To load the wire and set up the welder for welding, you load the wire spool onto the welder like this, replace the washer, spring and retaining knob. Unwind enough wire to feed through the guide tube, through the rollers and into the lead a short way like this. Fold back the wire tension roller and tighten tension knob. Remove the torch gas nozzle and contact tip like this. This allows the wire to feed through the torch lead freely and reduces the chances of the wire penetrating the torch lead wall. Roll the torch out straight in front of the welder, switch the welder on, and press the torch trigger, holding the lead straight out in front of the machine like this. Wait for the wire to feed through the lead and out the end of the torch. By holding the lead straight, it'll reduce the chance of the wire penetrating the wall of the lead. Replace the contact tip and nozzle, and adjust the wire tension knob so the wire still feeds when you hold the end of the wire, like this. Trim the wire to about this length and you're almost ready to go. This process is the same for all MIG models. To set up the MIG welders for welding, the aim here is to select the correct wire speed to match the amp setting. You can check this chart in your owner's manual for a starting point. It'll give an approximate setting to start, then it's a little trial and error to achieve the correct setting. If your wire speed is too slow and your amps are too high, it'll look like this. And if your wire speed is too fast and your amps are too low, it'll look like this. This is what you're looking for. Correct amps and correct wire speed will look like this. The best advice is to grab some scrap material and practice before you attempt your project. MIG welding is an easy process where there's no need to strike an arc. You just need to place the nozzle and contact tip about 2 mm from the job and pull the trigger. The wire loading and setup of the MIG welders is basically the same for gas and no-gas welding. The difference is that you need to change the working leads to the correct polarity for the intended use. This way for gas, this way for no gas. Also, the wire roller will need to be changed to suit the wire being used. For gas welding, be sure to use the correct gas. Again, refer to this chart in your owner's manual for recommended settings, the correct wire, the correct gas, and the correct power setting. Remember, the chart is a guide only, and further fine-tuning of settings may be needed. An important point to remember. All WeldCorp welders are fitted with a thermal overload protection, which protects the machine against burnout through overloading or extended use. The welder will automatically switch off when overheated and reset when the welder has cooled down enough to continue welding. WeldCorp has a large range of wire, electrodes and accessories, so be sure to select the correct wire, electrode and accessories to suit your welder. Read the product specification and recommendations on the packaging. The information will guide you to the correct selection for your project. Troubleshooting. No power. Check the power is connected and the power switch is in the on position. Check that the thermal overload switch is not on, and this is indicated by an illuminated yellow light on the front panel of the welder. When the welder cools, the switch will reset. Check supply fuse. Welder will not produce an arc. Check power connections and ensure the earth clamp is attached and has good contact. Blowing burn holes in the material. The amp setting too high or the metal too thin. Arc unstable. Dirty workpiece or poor earth connection. Damaged electrode or insufficient gas. An inconsistent weld. Check the amp setting. Check wire feed speed. Check welding angle and speed. If your problem is continuing, you can call the WeldCorp helpline on 1800 011 812. Before we finish, remember these few tips. Safety. The most important point is to be aware of the safety aspects. Job preparation. Prepare the job correctly. Get the setup right. Check the settings. Match the base metal with the proper electrodes, wire and shielding gas. Have fun and practice to develop your welding skills.